folks. This is Who Did You Boycott today. Thank you for popping in. Don't quite know where to start tonight. Let me give a yes, Lord, to the Heavenly Father for another blessed day on this earth. In the midst of all this madness, I need to remind myself to give a thank you, Lord, for another day. And I have come to a decision that I will not be identifying myself as an activist anymore. It has come to my understanding over these 3 years off of my life that I cannot get back, but that's life. You make your decisions and you have to live with them. So I made that decision in January 2022, and here I am in 2025. And after listening to a replay today as I was working, I was listening to RonO's Twitter space, and I like to try to get a feel for persons based on what they say out of their mouth, what their perspective is, what is their mindset, and what come out of their mouth. What do they state out of their mouth that they stand on, that they believe, or they just have a conviction to it? What is that person's mindset? Because it comes down to your mindset in life. What is your mindset in total? Because this world throw a lot of curveballs at you. It calls our brothers and sisters. She will constantly explain that to us. Try to help us to understand the world that she wanted us to be able to understand, the world that we were living in. And at first I didn't quite understand it. I just thought my mother was preaching to us. And so I made a little joke growing up. Mom, I'm going to preach to us today. She's going to preach to us today. And me and my brothers and sisters, we would laugh about it. But as I grew up, I started to understand what she was trying to teach us. Better feel for the world around you. And so I reflect on that today and many a days. And as I listen to RonO's space, one thing I have tried to get a gauge of RonO's mind perspective, and one thing I noticed about him, he liked this word called "I'ma keep it real." I don't know why that is such a special word to him, but he says it quite often, and it just amazed me how many times that word come out of his mouth. I'm gonna keep it real, or the other one is folks like to say, let it. It is what it is. Yeah, that's another quote that folks like to use on social media. It is what it is. And so I start off this broadcast tonight and say, for those who want to try to do the right thing, try to have a productive life, try to have a happy life, try to have a safe life, that you just gather your pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and put them in a cookie jar. That's the best advice that I can give folks as I check out of this activist role. I want to leave on that note, that that's the best advice that I can give from my evaluation over these 3 years that each person focus on gathering their pennies and nickels and dimes and making your life productive, making your life happy and safe. Because it's just too much degenerate in the world that we live in. It's just too much degenerate evil and corruption and dishonesty that it's like shooting blindly into a barrel or something. Try to trust somebody today. To put your trust and your faith in someone, it's almost that you had to depend on blind faith. So, like you can trust and build with them. You'll be able to recognize when you can, each one of us. So do your own evaluation and determine who you want to trust, and those that you don't want to trust, move in the opposite direction. It's just way too much degenerate all around every single day. And now folks don't got in the habit of wanting to call each other gay or homo or gay or homo, and the Negro and brown and dark brown skin community only make up less than 10% of that population. When I see the LGBTQ parades, I rarely see a person with brown or dark brown skin. But I do know that America has done a good job of placing the image of the LGBTQ community with a brown or dark brown skin face, when our community make up less than 10%. But I respect for those persons that choose that want to have that lifestyle. That's their personal. Now folks have started using it as a weapon, and they want to use it as a weapon. And I guess they done their own evaluation that America used, because America show you in their evil ways, they show you how they choose to use it as a weapon. You start doing the same thing. You start hurling that label on persons because you're in an argument with a person. You have your mouth. That person is gay, or I don't know what words folks use. They constantly telling each other to suck a person, D-I-C-K. I have never said that to him. They constantly saying suck, D-I-C-K. I don't know what they get out of doing that. I really don't understand why they tell each other to suck a D-I-C-K. don't quite understand why that's necessary, but apparently it's necessary for those folks who constantly say it out their mouth. And however they choose to present themselves to me. But they carry themselves, how they move character, I am going to evaluate that before I decide to associate with. I have always done it. And I think in society, that's necessary. Persons with different personalities, they're going to be evil, corruption, degenerate, and so they want that we live in is going to continue to function. And I think each of us understand that we play our part in that society. And if degenerate behavior is made comfortable in society, it's going to have an impact. If corruption is made comfortable in society, it's going to have an impact. If persons who are dishonest is made comfortable, then it's going to have an impact on society. So, to try to be fair, and I like to try to be fair, that those persons who choose to want to be around conversations and personalities of degeneracy that show the example of a negative personality or character, they should be able to carve out their own little corner in life. They should be able to carve out that little corner in life and go about their merry life. But that should not have an impact to a degree that it overpowers a functioning society. Because the majority of persons in life want to simply have a productive, happy, and safe life. And those persons who seem to need to be around those kind of conversations and to constantly be cursing each other out and calling each other names and everything under the sun, they need that for some reason. I don't know what reason that is, so I can't really speak on it. But I know that I have witnessed it over my life. More so now that I've been on these social media apps, I really didn't experience that a whole lot in my day-to-day life until I downloaded social media, because I did not associate with persons with that type of personality or character traits. I just did not go around those individuals. And so I really didn't have to interact with those individuals. But being a part of social media has exposed me to a different environment that I had not been exposed to. And so I'm really doing my best to absorb all of it and put it in its right place. And so for me, the best thing for me to do is to disconnect as much as possible, but still want to contribute to those that can use the information that I try to provide. I will continue to try to do that. But as far as these social media platforms go and these Twitter spaces, folks have gotten to the point where they are comfortable saying that these Twitter spaces are just entertainment. Entertainment in the midst of the crisis that we are facing. Folks are comfortable saying that they got time to be entertained on social media. With everything that we are facing, well, saying they are being entertained by these conversations in these Twitter spaces is quite bizarre. I don't know how you can be entertained when the crisis that we are facing cannot be measured. The country of America has always been racist and discriminating and evil. But the measures that they are going to put in place now is nothing compared to a long time ago. They didn't have that technology. They couldn't have used it because it hadn't been invented at that time. They are going to be able to monitor everything about your life, which it may have been doing for a long time anyway, but not to the degree that they are working on currently. I came across a video maybe about 2 years ago that a person had broadcast and compared what was going on in Israel and Palestine, that they had the ability to monitor those Palestinians. They could not walk more than a few steps without going through a checkpoint. As I listened to that broadcast, it was hard for me to process what I was hearing. And so the person that did the broadcast talked about how the Palestinians couldn't walk out their door and walk a few steps without going through a checkpoint. How they couldn't sit in their living room without being monitored. How they couldn't walk to the kitchen without being monitored. They couldn't walk to the bathroom without being monitored. I don't think I experience that now unless I carry my phone with me. And I don't carry my phone to the bathroom a whole lot or the kitchen. But then I also came across another video that Jeff Brown, the person, was talking about the end of the dollar. That was back in June of 2022. And I watched that 1 hour video, and it said quite a bit. And I remember sharing it and talking about it for a good long time until I stopped talking about it. And Jeff Brown, the person that was on the video, talked about the Federal Reserve, Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, 666, Universal ID. What else do I remember? That your personal privacy was going to go away. He talked about how the China social grading system would come to America, and that they will be able to shut your life down with a push of a button. He gave an example of if you had $2,500 in the bank and you didn't spend it by a certain time, they could take it away. He also gave the example that if a millionaire had $10 million, they could take that money and divide it amongst other persons. Those are the points that I remember off the top of my head. So now that Donald Trump is in office, and it looks like they are trying to turn back the clock till before 1965. Where that's going to land is anyone's guess. Certain folks are giving a perspective, and I have my perspective. And I have talked about it on quite a few of my broadcasts. I won't go into all of that tonight. If you get a chance, you can go. I will start back posting videos a little bit more on my YouTube channel since I'm making an effort to transition off of Twitter. So I had primarily been using my YouTube channel as a storage to store videos that I upload. But I probably will start putting a little bit more videos over there. But Donald Trump is showing signs that they are making the effort to turn back the clock before 1965. My personal perspective is that Donald Trump wants to erase the Negro slavery history in this country on this landmass. That entails the Negro ancestors' history that was recorded. And some of us have heard bits and pieces of things, like I heard that Donald Trump wanted to stop the Tuskegee Airmen from being taught in flight school. I came across some information that they had put over 400 and they reduced it to over 300 historical sites. They're going to possibly put them up for sale. I came across that information, and I get quite a few messages in my back channel from different persons. I just can't remember all of it right now. And the last thing that I heard about recently is that they doing something with persons with brown and dark brown skin, gravestone, headstone, and graveyards. They are erasing the names off of headstones or something like that. And of course, we hear all the rumors about smaller government and Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security. And I was reading something today about funding being cut for research, scientific research in North Carolina. I copied down the information and on my notepad, and I'm going to go search and do a little bit of research on it because I don't know a whole lot about it. But since I'm in North Carolina, I'm going to make sure that I research that information as far as the cuts to scientist research on different things like cancer, diabetes, different other research that's done. And it mentioned about over 8,000 persons possibly will lose their job. So it's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to have to go do some research on it. And then today, before I started this broadcast, I saw a short video clip of Ben Crump talking about something that was being stopped or ended for persons who are trying to fight for justice. And Ben Crump had mentioned Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, and a couple other names that I can't remember. So Ben Crump is making a video about something that Donald Trump is doing that's going to hinder our ability to get fight for justice, which is something that we've been fighting for a very long time. As those persons who have been able to receive justice, that's a blessing. But we clearly understand that a lot of folks do not end up being found guilty. And so that's another concern. Oh yeah, I remember something about them erasing the database history of misconduct for police persons. So it's very disturbing to hear persons get on a public app and make the statement that the time that you spend on these social media apps are entertainment. Hopefully, folks can find something more entertaining than sitting on an app, cursing each other out, and calling each other names. But it's very disturbing and very disheartening because we are sitting back and so much is harming us, but we're not taking any action. We can name off so many things that the government is planning on doing or have already done that has harmed us in many ways, from prison to pipeline, food deserts, poor medical care, and on and on. And we can name so many things that we know about personally. So for us to feel that we have the luxury to get on an app day after day and be entertained is quite amazing. It's quite amazing that folks feel they can have the luxury to do that. Being right in the heart of the beast of America, and know that America is also going around the world and doing harm. So, but folks are comfortable being entertained, I guess. They so comfortable with being entertained that they constantly say it out their mouth. And so that's why I said that degenerate behavior, those individuals have to carve out their own little circle and entertain each other, I guess. But for those of us who want to really fight to have a decent life, a productive and happy and safe life, then the best advice I can give is to gather your pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and put as much security around your family and loved ones, because it's a lifetime job to try to weed out who is wanting to do the right thing and who don't. Maybe someday, maybe the next generation, it can be sorted out if those of us who stand on being a good example, we can carve out 70% or 80% of the population who want to operate that way, and let the other 20% be degenerate and corrupt and dishonest. Long as the degenerate and corrupt and dishonest percent of individuals don't have the majority, then hopefully we can function as good as possible. Because right now it looks like, in a lot of ways, that the evil and the corruption and dishonesty have the percent in their favor. I don't know if it's 51% or 52% or 55%, but it seems like a lot of folks put a lot of effort and time into wanting to get over on each other, wanting to con each other, wanting to hustle. And I just think I'm just going to, for myself personally, I'm going to go back to my old way of thinking and just try to focus on what I have control over, and not so much engage on these social media platforms, because it's starting to have a negative impact on my sanity and my mental and physical health. So I have to do the right thing and think about my health. And I've done my part for the past 3 years, and I can be proud of that. And I will continue to try to contribute it in another way. And so folks cannot continue to try to make the claim that they care about their community and they are fighting for justice and they are fighting for liberation, but get on a public app and curse each other out and call each other names, and folks want to pull up and fight each other. And I put the lady named Cultivating in my title today with RonO, because when I was listening to that replay, the guy that I know by Trinity, but his name, he have a different name or a different profile name, but I know him, I know his voice by Trinity. And he was trying to explain to RonO about cultivating Twitter spaces. And I don't know this lady that much. I've had a disagreement with her, and I've put her name on my timeline quite a bit. I think I've only been in her space twice, and the first time that I went in her room, she disrespected me, and then I said I'm gonna go back the second time and see if it's gonna happen again, and it did, and I never went back. And so, but what I wanted to try to speak about, and I think Trinity was trying to explain that to RonO, but I'm going to explain it from my perspective, that in this environment, this current environment, and it's been like this probably all of our life, but for some reason, we just didn't make the evaluation. I don't quite see the purpose of talking to, especially persons with pink skin, pale skin, who call themselves white. I don't see the purpose in talking to them. And I say that because this environment and this climate totally mistreat us on a regular basis. Every second of the day, they murder or they mistreat somebody in different ways, and now we are literally starting to get attacked. And folks still continue to talk to them. I had suggested over a year ago, just stop talking to all of them. And that would cause those persons that want to interact with you to go back to their people and explain to them that our community no longer are talking to them. And that's my thought process of a protest, that by not talking to any of them, that's going to force the rest of the society who are not taking accountability for the mistreatment that each of us are experiencing. They will be forced to go back and have that conversation with each other and apply pressure in their own collective population. But as long as they feel comfortable coming into our Twitter spaces or any space that we occupy, they feel that they know we are being mistreated. They know we're not receiving justice. They are not living in a cave. They are fully aware of the environment that America has been for over 400 years. They know that. So no matter how much they want to try to make the claim that they don't feel that way and they're not doing that, but you are part of that collective society, of that collective population. So by you professing that you're not part of that does not excuse you. You are not using your time and your voice and your platform to speak against it. You may you may pop on a room or social media platform here and there and say a few words and think that you are doing something to push back against it, but that's not doing anything. And so I had long since made the suggestion that it did not make sense to me that if folks don't want to boycott, folks don't want to boycott social media platforms, and you want to continue to interact with these individuals because they all play a part in it. America can't do anything. It's the individual people that carries out the collective harm, because America is just a word. It's just a word that folks came up with. But it's the individual people in that society that carry out the harm collectively. So my brain tells me if the collective society is making it possible for that harm to continue for over 400 years, then that part of the society is going to have to get together and talk to each other and decide if they want to change their mindset, if they want to change their character. But I can't change their character by sitting down and talking to them over a phone. I learned that when I was in the military. I was around all different ethnicities in the military. But I didn't lose my common sense because I put on a military uniform. So I made it very clear to all persons around me, I did not want to associate with you outside of that military uniform. And we had that understanding. Every unit, every place that they sent me, I made that very clear. I'm not going to associate with you outside of this uniform. I'm not going to invite you to my house. I'm not going to hang out with you. I am not going to just shoot the breeze with you. But if I have this uniform on, I'm going to do my job. But once I take that uniform off, I no longer have to have anything to do with you. That's the way I operated my whole military career. And nobody said anything or gave me any pushback because I conducted myself in that manner. I made that very clear. I'm going to be respectful to you when I have this uniform on. I'm going to interact with you and engage with you. I'm going to have to conversate with you. But once I take that uniform off, I no longer have to do that. So my thinking has not changed from the thinking that I had my whole military career. That it makes common sense to me that if you cut off communication with these individuals, they are going to be forced to go back and demand that this society make changes. But if they don't receive any type of pressure, then the society is not going to have a reason to change. So each one of us and our children and grandkids are going to continue to suffer. We're going to continue to experience injustice. We are going to continue to experience genocide. We are going to continue to experience prisoner pipeline. We are going to continue to experience the negative images of being mistreated. We are going to continue to have persons go on a shooting spree. We are going to continue to have folks who want to cry wolf and say somebody is doing something to them. They walking in the wrong neighborhood. They doing something. They're parking in the wrong parking space. It's just a bunch of things because they're comfortable. They are comfortable in that environment because they know that's America's environment. So my common sense tells me then if they feel that comfortable, then the Negro and brown and dark brown skin community should cut them off. Just cut communication off altogether until they can go back and gather together and implement changes. Otherwise, they have no incentive or no motivation to demand changes because our population is so small, we don't have the numbers to demand that change just with our population alone. They are going to have to change, I said. They are going to have to be motivated to want to do that. Either by a boycott, because marching and protesting and voting is certainly not going to ever do it. So when Trinity is communicating with RonO and trying to explain that to him and other persons in that room, that every time you interact with these individuals with pink and pale skin or Jews or Germans or Italians, any person that's outside of our ethnic race, any human being that don't experience what we have had to experience for over 400 years and around the world, they can never relate to that. They can, a person with brown and dark had a best friend for 30 and 40 years, they are never going to be able to relate to what our experience has been for over 400 years. And they try to say that, they're telling a bald-faced lie. So when you give them access and you go into their Twitter spaces and co-host with them and associate with them and have a pleasant conversation, you are telling them that you are okay with the treatment that your community is receiving for over 400 years in this environment. You are giving them that signal. You are sending them that message every time you choose to talk to them. They can be a nice person. You can claim that they're a nice person. They don't do any of that stuff, but they are a part of that community. They make up that population. Their numbers are counted and included in that population. Whether they are doing it as an individual, they collective population is responsible for the mistreatment and the genocide that Negroes and brown and dark brown skinned human beings have been going through for over 400 years and around the world. So I can only share with you what worked for me. I cut communication off with them. And it has worked quite well in my life. It has worked quite well. I don't have any association with them whatsoever. I did not have it when I went in the military, and I have not had it since I came out of the military. I have not had it since I've been on these social media apps. So persons are making a choice to interact with these individuals. If you are fighting for reparations and you think by talking to them it's going to convince them to go back to their people and try to convince them to want to vote yes for reparation, no. The best approach that I can suggest is what I've been saying. Cut communication. Cut communication. Cut communication with anyone that associates with a white national, that associates in Twitter spaces that talk down and talk bad about our community as a collective. If you go into the anonymous listening section and you hear individuals who come off of their microphone and want to constantly use the word nigger, who want to constantly say anything and everything negative that they can say out of their mouth. If you know that individual and you see that individual later on in another space associating with someone that you feel is part of your community that have brown or dark brown skin, they are suspect. And the reason why I can say they are suspect because I'm here tonight because like I said, I am checking out an activist. I will no longer identify as an activist. But I wanted to leave one clear message before I checked out. I want my community to be on their toes because these individuals can be recording what you're saying. And you may just get a knock by the FBI. You may just get a knock by the CIA. You don't know what they could be using those recorded messages in these rooms for. So while you are having that heated exchange and you are saying what you feel that you want to say, that's just all they doing is baiting you individuals and gathering intel on you. Like I told you folks, I worked in telecommunication. My job required a high-level security clearance in the military. I did 2 assignments at the Pentagon. I did an assignment in Berlin, Germany. I did 2 assignments at Fort Bragg. I did assignments in places that who are called up right away whenever America had to deal with a situation. And I got a chance to read a lot of messages in that telecommunication center. If America go to war, that message came through our communication center. We got a chance to see that message almost first because we had to transmit it. So by being in that environment, it really caused me to put my antenna up even more. But I came from the projects. I grew up in the projects my first 9 years on this earth. So I understood as much as I could up until 9 years old what environment that I was living in and that I was functioning in. And so once I got into the military, my antenna was already up. So my purpose tonight is to try to give folks warning. Try to give them a warning that it is very dangerous to interact in cultivating Twitter space with those white nationals. It's very dangerous because they certainly going to bait you. And they could be gathering intel and recordings of what came out of your mouth. And they could use it at some later date. For whatever reason, they can cook up. So I would suggest folks start telling each other this because this is a totally different environment than what our ancestors went through. During our ancestors' time period, they didn't have the technology they have today. They didn't have that technology back then. So we are living in somewhat of a more dangerous situation because it's no other purpose for these white nationals and neo-Nazi individuals to want to have a conversation with any of us. It's no purpose for it because we're certainly not going to change each other's mind. We're not going to change the environment and the life experience that we grew up in. That's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change in 5 years. It's not going to change in 10 years. It's not going to change in 15 years because we had different lived experience. Ain't nothing going to ever change that. No matter how many times you talk to each other, that's not going to change. You may want to sit on a public app and have a pleasant conversation with each other and say all the right words but it's not going to change what you have went through and what you know you have experienced on the inside. But folks, I think they take great pleasure in having these pretense conversations with each other. I don't know what they get out of it. I don't know what you get out of co-hosting with Cultivating. Because like I told that lady on my other broadcast, why does she get up? She's just like Tommy Sotomayor. They spend so much valuable time off of their life making Twitter spaces, focusing on black Americans. Why they don't focus on their own nation? Why is that? Why is the black Americans the center of the focus? Why is the black American have to be your content? Why is that? Because there's so many other persons on this earth who are going through ups and downs, and they don't come from the Negro and black American community. They don't come from that community. So why is everyone wanting to make money off of content of what the Negroes and black Americans are going through and what they and the ways they are suffering? Why is that? Because everybody else is going through something too. But I don't see them opening rooms and talk about that. I don't see Cultivating opening rooms and talking about what's going on back in Ethiopia. Why is that? I would just like the question to be answered. Because as far as I can tell, Ethiopia is going through some things in Africa. But I have not seen that lady open one room about that. I have not heard Tommy Sotomayor open one room about where he come from. I think he come from either Jamaica or Haiti. I have not seen him make one room title and talk about Haiti or Jamaica. Why is that? You folks need to be careful that these individuals who put so much stock into opening Twitter spaces with Twitter titles to bait you in, they just may be baiting you into a recording of what is coming out your mouth, and the day may come when you get that knock at the door. Or you may not get a knock at the door. You just may get a pink slip and be let go from your job. When folks want to gather intel, they'll use every underhanded tactic they can use. When they want to gather intel, and you're on the perfect platform for it, it's led by Elon Musk, who he feels quite proud to give a Nazi salute. And you folks just wake up day after day and open your mouth and say anything and everything. That platform algorithm is there for a reason. It's either there to help those persons put money in their pocket and they are monetized, so you go into their room and you help the algorithm, and that makes money for Twitter. And it most likely make money for those individual accounts if they monetize. So you are helping your enemy make money off of your presence. You are helping your enemy that you claim that you are fighting. You claim that you want liberation. You claim you want reparations, but you wake up every single day and help your enemy make more money to harm you. Because the more money they make, the more ways they can fund ways to harm you. So I don't know if these persons' account is monetized. I don't know if somebody is paying them behind the scenes. But you best have your thinking cap on. They just may be getting paid to open these rooms, and under the disguise of a pleasant conversation, they just may be getting paid behind the scenes to put on the disguise that they just opening a little room to have a little pleasant conversation, to talk about unity, to talk about how we can get along better, all under the disguise that every bit of it's being recorded. Every bit of it's being recorded. And if it's not going to be used to help the Jews get a hate crime bill, it's more than likely going to help those Caucasians get a hate crime bill. See, they can weaponize everything that come out of our mouth against us. But they don't have to be worried about what we say out of our mouth negative about them, because they are in the driver's seat. They have the numbers. They have the money. They have the control and the power. So they are in the driver's seat, and you are being baited. That's what Trinity tried to explain to RonO and those folks in that room, and they were not picking it up. Oh, I can go into any room I feel like going into. You ain't got the pocket watch. You ain't got to try to tell nobody what room they can go into. Well, keep on going into those rooms. If you get that knock on your door one day, if you get that pink slip and you let go from your job, you won't remember what you said in those rooms. You've been on forgot about that. You've been on forgot about that. So continue to let yourself be baited and walk into cultivating room anytime you feel like it. Walk right in there, raise your hand to speak, and they're going to push that recording button. Or they're going to continue to make money off of your presence. You are making content to generate that algorithm. So either way it go, they win. They're winning because they're making money for Twitter profile platform. They are making money for Twitter platform. They are making money if their account is monetized. They are making money if they're gathering intel to take back to those persons who can use it any kind of way they want. And folks just best be careful. Very, very careful, because the Jews are trying to get a hate crime bill. And I think the Caucasians, either they're going to be included in the Jewish hate crime bill, or they're going to get one separate. Because they are already trying to shape the narrative that white folks are the most hated. Y'all have no clue how these demons operate. This is technical. Everything about this environment is technical. That's been the environment that our ancestors had to live in. And that's exactly the same environment that each one of us were birthed into. It's all about utilizing all measures of technical efficiency. And you're going to use everything at your disposal. Every little thing at your disposal to weaken the population of the Negroes and brown and dark brown skinned person, because they want to be in control. They don't want our community and our population to have our liberation and our own self-reliance and our own productive and happy and safe life. They tell us that every single day. We clearly are aware of some of the things that are going on around the world. All the destruction that America and these other nations have caused in Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, the continent, and around the world. And we still, with knowing all that evil they have done, we sit down and pleasantly want to talk to them. It's bizarre. It's downright bizarre that they have murdered so many persons in our community. We cannot name them all. Tamir Rice, Jordan Neely, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sonia Macy. Those are the recent names that popped to mind. Jordan Neely, murderer, walked out the courtroom. You folks just kept right on trucking on like nothing happened. You just continue to interact with all these folks on Twitter land. Oh, they not responsible for it. It's not their fault. They had nothing to do with it, the injustice, but they come from that collective population. And they are all in sync with each other. What benefits one benefits all. What benefits this environment is technical. that's been the environment that our ancestors had to live in. And that's exactly the same environment that each one of us were birthed into. It's all about utilizing all measures of technical efficiency. And you're going to use everything at your disposal. Every little thing at your disposal to weaken the population of the Negroes and brown and dark brown skinned